Guys match. Welcome everybody. I'm joined here by Alicel, our restreamer. Cassidy is doing the tracking for us, and with me in the booth for the first time, at least that we're paired together, is Commander Leonhardt.
Yeah, glad to be here with you, PK. I haven't gotten a chance to work with you, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
So we're narrowing towards the end of the tournament. We were discussing this briefly, but some things are in place here. There are a lot of runners who are also anxiously hoping for a win on one side, maybe a loss on one side, whatever it might be. And maybe you'd sort of like to explain sort of where we are at now that we're getting towards the ends, as far as, what I'm hoping for, what, someone else who's watching this might be looking for.
Yeah, so the records are starting to lock in, and it does look like 4-2 is going to be good enough for top 16. Anything above that, 5-1, 6-0, you're hoping your strength of schedule is good enough to get you top 4 and to have a say in drafting the next part. 3-3 is going to need a very strong strength of schedule to slip it.
Yep, so anyone who has competed against either of these runners might very well be rooting for either one just to boost their strength of schedule. I know Moonblaze Wolf has maybe been the surprise of this tournament. They were someone I had picked to make the top 16. But now, sitting at 0-5 has a chance to get a win. And maybe just playing for pride at this point, but these matches are all tough. Any one of those that I saw from Blaze could have tipped the other way. Rando is always going to Rando. We have some interesting objectives here as well. Is there anything that stands out to you, Leo?
The Cecil start stands out to me most of all, but other than that, Murasame Altar, not as brutal, but it does mean that Darkness gets us an objective instead of just Z access. Likewise, Pastor in Troya, that's the other way to Zeromus. There's your other objective. And the Baron Key is the lightest objective as that key item comes. So, a bit varied, but Z access is going to handle one objective on its own. Either way.
Yes, so we might not even see anyone have to go underground. We might not have to see anyone go to the moon. But certainly those two objectives are, fast objectives, even if they're key items. You might be thinking, I don't know when I'm going to find it. And speaking of which...
That's a fast objective, all right. Can't argue with that.
This is like, I made an effort on one of my Magma Key start races to try to be the fastest person to ever get to Job Dwarf. This could very well be the fastest one to light up an objective in one of these table races.
Yeah, that or Pass would have been the two fast ones. Just see when they get around to it. There's no real rush to do it. You know it's sitting there, and it's not like it gives you access to other objectives. Normally we say do your objectives, but in this case where you're not really opening up more progression by doing it, you can just kind of do it at your leisure whenever you first go to Baron.
Yeah, as far as the sewer itself goes, I agree with you. You're probably not at the levels you want if that's something you're planning on routing in before underground or getting levels, whatever it might be. But there is one, and of course, runners, no, just go do it right now. Why would you disagree with the commentary team? But
Sure.
This does open up the shop. It does open up the shop, and Blaze is also showing, and with that ninja sword, there is some good loot you might be able to sneak away from down there, and that is a higher tier shop because it is gated by that key item. So I would have been interested maybe to look in there.
Yeah, worth the time.
But otherwise, I think we're going to see our standard routing. This is, as you mentioned, the Cecil start gives you sort of a few options that you're probably keeping in mind as you go forward. There is second Cecil, there's leaving that Cecil dead, or there's, I find an Excal, I find a Crystal Sword, I don't have a second Cecil, whatever, we'll just bonk whatever comes in our way as hard as we can.
Yeah, and if you find yourself a Curse Ring, then you can level that Cecil Without too much fear, at least get him started, even if you don't have the Holy Sword yet. If you find a Drain Sword or a Dwarf Axe to go along with it, you can really turn him loose, and if it ends up going south, you can still turn him into an anchor.
Yep. Those two items combined, the Cursed Ring and either of those will drop Cecil's agility by a combined 20. And I think it's level 44, level 45 that Cecil gets up to 28. So you still have a very good anchor for somebody who can also, shield some other people from attacks, whatever it might be.
Yeah, ideally going into Zeromus and dealing with some other fast Druid bosses, you want everyone other than your anchor to be at relative agility 1. For that, their agility needs to be more than 2.5 times the anchor's agility. So that 8 agility number you referenced for Cecil requires people to be at 21 agility, which isn't out of the question for Zeromus level.
Yep, that's typically anyone who has nuke or white is going to be above that specific margin, typically speaking. And now we've seen a Murasame and we have seen a Ninja Sword. So what do you think the odds are that there is an edge in this seed?
Less than they were in group flags. We're on C standard now instead of C relaxed. Those of you that saw the group races were used to seeing starting edges or edges just casually hanging out on hobs or reveals. No, wherever Edge is, he's gated by a key item and no promises that he's here.
And those swords sell for a hefty amount. So holding out hope for an Edge is, carrying around 65,000 gold that you can't spend on anything either.
It's a tough call, to be sure. Got some vanilla. More vanilla.
Yeah, and speaking of the exact opposite of Edge, as our little buddy with this harp managed to show up, wants to be a part of the party. Eddie is somebody you're certainly not going to take, particularly with these flags. You don't have to take anybody when you first see them. Eddie, if it comes down to it, and you happen to get a really quick go mode, you don't mind having him sort of sitting off, practicing the harp, but not going to get any utility right now.
Not really. Eddie's bailed me out of a couple of tight spots, even on this flag set. I'm looking at you, DKC at Bahamut, but it's very much a niche scenario rather than someone you're going to grab real fast.
This is Cecil starts, and then depending on if you can't find somebody to really offer you decent damage in the early game, you might see some checks for the Black Sword, which actually turns Dark Knight Cecil from someone who does nothing for your team, at least into somebody who can do a little bit of damage, and those are available overworld.
Yeah, I don't hate a Cecil start, but if I see an early Cecil, I generally will leave him behind until I've cleared ordeals, because he is just too much of a liability swinging that Shadow Sword. Black Sword turns that around. Very.
And we do have from 0 to hero between 2 tournaments. This Tella went from the guy nobody wanted on their team to, if you've watched enough of these flags, you'll know you never pass on a Tella when you're running these table flags.
Yeah. Can't Run was designed to limit the usefulness of D-Machine, but the community's ability to provide tech was too strong, and even before things got underway, the D-Machine grind was worked around that flag set. So having Tella for the Darkness Crystal, particularly when you have an objective on that Darkness Crystal, makes a D-Machine grind even more likely, and you're going to want him for that.
Yeah, with this objective set, it's very possible we might see someone attempt some lower level manips, with Cecil being your guaranteed anchor. Tella at least is slightly less valuable. Obviously, you want him to get through your grind, but he can't really take over anchor duties afterwards. So the Cecil start with the Tella is one of the ones where you're, the number of people you can have, or the number of people you have with utility, kind of narrows over basically any mage start or any physical attacker start. But they're sort of making their way through. Do you have any, you have Atella in your party. You don't really have great damage. I mean, if you just go normal routing here, I would be afraid to go up Ordeals. There was a Rydia up there, but you're probably going to want to hang on to. I don't know. I hate to say it. Antlion, maybe?
I mean, I don't have your hate of Antlion, PK. It's a easier spot to level up and get rolling. Possum had a good point in chat, Possum Morpheus. Other than the Black Sword, if a Dancing Dagger were found in a shop, could pick that up and pick Rydia up and solve the early game damage. And if we're really lucky, there's a good summon on Hobbs to keep her going after Dancing Dagger has outlived its use.
Yep, the surprise potential damage for this seed thus far is looking like maybe that Rydia with the dagger. Hobbs doesn't look like too much help.
I mean, it's a beatable boss, to be sure, but a second Cecil is not the reward we had in mind.
No.
Rude.
On this party comp, XP on this party comp isn't really helping you at all.
I think that's a Palom in the bed, if I caught the hair right. I believe that's Ponytail on the right, and since he's lying face down, that's the opposite of the dominant hand. Not helpful without a Sandry, but there's some hope.
And Blaze making some choices here. The other thing I was considering alternatively was, I believe we have 2 Porums.
Twin?
And you might rely on Twin Magic to get you
I like it.
through that Antlion, up and down Ordeals, whatever it might be. Tella with the base level Tella has access to 2 spells that have any real utility at the start, and those being the Blink and the Exit spell. But levels on Tella is not going to get anything better than the base level 1 magic spells, and bonus levels on this Dark Knight Cecil isn't really going to get Cecil to hit any harder. So something like getting a second Dark Knight Cecil on Hobbs isn't really of any concern to me right now.
No, not at all. He stays there until I decide it's second Cecil time. And for that, I better have a Holy Sword on the first one. Pancras, making the first dive into Antlion Cave, says, enough is enough. I'm not happy about this party, but at some point, you've just got to bear down and get on with it. He does at least have the Black Sword, so that's going to be helpful.
Yep, and there was a Poison Axe. Anyone team Poison Axe, when this Cecil does reach Paladin state, will have at least a decent weapon. If you keep Cecil in that middle spot, it should negate some of the accuracy difficulties. And here we go. This isn't fun.
No, there better be a good J item here that can sweep, like a lightning bolt off of a 300 hit point Tella. Let's see if this gets the job done.
I believe it should.
There we go.
So well done.
Yep. And we've got... Oh, it's a magma key. That's big. That'll help open things up in terms of maybe finding some spicier loot and allow a few more checks to happen without having to struggle too much.
Yeah, this is a position where I know I would be heading underground, essentially immediately.
Yeah, we saw Blaze looting the mini treasury in Troya, which you don't see often, but with the party needing so much help is perfectly justified in the circumstances. Definitely warrants a dive underground to better treasure chests, set up a Sheila 1, clean that up while you're in wool. Look at the shops down there. Maybe you'll find that curse ring.
And this is part of the beauty of these flags in particular. I mean, throughout the tournament, but the number of characters you have access to just from the free characters flag being on allows for just party compositions of vastly different makeup that are equally as valid of choices. And I say this as we see Pancras has now picked up a second Cecil.
Of nearly duplicate palettes, I think there's a slight difference in shade between the two, but that could just be my eyes. It's very close.
And chat pointing out, I've been in this position. 2 Black Sword Cecils is not ideal, but once they become paladins, knowing you have Poison Axe, some things to equip, you can at least put off making other character decisions for a little while. And I think maybe that Magma Key is making you think, all right, let's, we're probably going to be with the Cecils.
Yeah, and that is definitely one of the things about Permajoin that has made this stage of the tournament so interesting. When you normally have the freedom to change your party up as you go, you can build a party just to get you through the early game and then pivot to something different as you move on later, especially with the help of a slingshot. Now, any character you take early is going to either pull their weight through all stages or at some point be alive.
Yeah, and if you don't find the right agility reducing gear for these Cecils, you might have a little bit of difficulty at some point. If we end up having to clear Moon bosses, Fey March bosses, things that are quite fast.
Moonblaze Wolf is taking out Antlion with a grimoire that he found in a chest somewhere. Gets a decent roll on an Indra, and down goes the dolls. So that'll be a Magma Key for him, and I suspect he will be heading underground shortly as well. He's more committed to the mages, it looks like. I see both a Aurum and Iridia there.
Yeah, and depending on, at what point in the seed we find Darkness Crystal, we could end up seeing, something sort of like you said, compared to the group flags, is a lot of people in these flags are totally comfortable running 4 mages, 4.5 mages, whatever you consider Tella, and, essentially hoping, all right, well, hopefully there's not a Valvalis in a required spot that I can't nuke, because otherwise I'll just go straight damage with these mages and not even worry about having a physical attacker on the team.
Yeah, and one thing reassuring Blaze is probably seeing that Valvalis in the first Baron in spot. Even if you're all mages, you can probably swing for 400 damage. Anchor is making a quick job dwarf check, and we have a sales manager. And a curse string in the armor shop.
So that is a very convenient find. That is going to leave you very comfortably anchoring with those 2 Cecils. You can now allow at least one of them to serve as your primary damage for a decent amount of time moving forward. And I think we're going to see some freebies checks here from both of them. That's what I would do here, at least, Leo.
Yeah, the only question was loot, but not even really a question given how little looting, how quickly we got to this spot. That TR is going to look great on Rydia whenever Blaze gets here if he does the looting.
Yeah, and an Hourglass as well. If we find a free boss or even on a trap chest, once Tella has that weak spell, you might be going just digging for a Cecil Sword. You might be using that to get a bunch of XP. If you see a free boss in a tough spot, that's going to get you through it as well. So that is an item that we're not going to see in shops, but I certainly be very, very pleased to have one in my back pocket.
Yeah, definitely. Blaze is going into the shops, going to find that curse ring. Good. Oh, and I was so busy looking at that. What did Pancras get?
I missed it as well. I wanted to see what was in the weapon shop. It looks like an earth crystal.
Ew. Rely on the trackers. Earth crystal's nice. You oftentimes one of your really good chances at high level gear early. We saw that Long and that Ninja, I believe, earlier. Or was it better than that? We saw a good ninja sword, making us think, where's Edge? We find things in Treasury that might have us looking for other people and help us decide how to fill these last 2 slots.
And this is a very curious Fey March. If you've seen, that was, I believe that was Water Hag.
It was. King Queen Eblin is absolutely free here. Tella can heal whatever fires they want to throw out before they end their screen. There's a cursed ring, but I don't know if a cursed ring is enough with only 2 other people to get through that Water Hag. I'd want at least one person before you make that.
Well, the question that I would have for you here, Leo, is if I see this with the current party I have,
Do you do this pre-ordeals when all these levels are going on the Dark Knights and they're going to be lost? Exactly.
Yeah.
Very good
So
question.
you might be able. I know I had one race where you could have used these fights, picked up, Rydia and a Porum as well, and gotten a slingshot off of the XP in this spot. This is gonna be interesting to see. Maybe you just check the key item if you really want to come back at the XP, because you can do this Water Hag. I believe you would need sort of some OK RNG, so maybe you save that one to come back to.
Yeah. Might also just be that with as difficult as things have been, Pancras was just like, hey, give me something to roll with. We'll see if that package ends up doing the job. But it looks like he is going to try and see if he can get through this.
Yep, my loss to Penguinator in this tournament involved skipping a Water Hag down in the basement who ended up holding one of the routes to go mode. So I totally understand wanting to do this. I had 3 characters at the time, and I thought, well, if I take a whiff, if Water Hag orders the punches correctly and I don't get through it first time, maybe I feel a little behind, but this is certainly something you can get through.
And there's one shot. Ideally, you'd like Water Hag's first shot to go after the Cursed Anchor. He's probably not getting a turn in this fight anyway. Then you get a swing in with the Uncursed Cecil, and then another shot from Tella, but no, and that's the worst that could have happened. Went after one of your 2 fast characters that was about to queue up in action. But Anchor gets a second one.
Yep, I'm not sure the total odds of this, but
Yeah, that was the worst. Yeah, and that was probably the absolute worst order of attacks that Water Hag could have made for Pancras.
Yep. That's why the fact that you are going to get one shot, until you have certain levels in this spot, is why the RNG is so important with 3 characters. With 5 characters, it's one of those, okay, everybody just queues up with Thor H and we just see who lives and who dies, who tells your story. But this one you needed to roll relatively correctly, because otherwise Water Hag will get bonus punches, and bonus punches are not fun.
No, yeah. With 5 characters, if you've got 4 characters all operating at max speed, it's very tough for Water Hag to put them all down before you get your 3 shots.
And this also consolidated with the potential XP you could be getting for free. Granted that Hourglass does sort of, you can get XP now that you have underground access from any number of trap chests that might also give you a key item. But this is the gamble that you take, and there's the value.
I mean, Bacchus, like Hourglasses, are things that we're not finding in shops anymore unless we open up Focal. So you don't hate an Hourglass, but I don't think it's what Pancras had in mind.
I would have minded that a lot less if Waterhag would have complied the first time I attempted that fight. You're always a little tilted when that doesn't work in your favor and you have to go back just to see that you just got some levels on 2 Dark Knight Cecils and Tella and a Bacchus wine to show.
Yeah. The package could turn out huge. It is definitely a possibility for Edge or any character other than the band Fusoya, obviously. But it's starting to dwindle.
And I like this play as well. I don't think we've seen either of them do Fabul yet. So route in at least this much of the pan route. If you get unfortunate and you find it on Ordeals or at Fabul, that's just sort of a risk you have to take when you get this early of a magma.
Yeah, I don't like Fading Sheila. I know that a lot of people don't like to double dip Sylph, but I really, really, really don't like Fading Sheila 1. And as a runner, when I see the pan there in the vanilla location, I do a little dance.
And Blaze decided to open up a chest in the Summon Monsters on the walk down to Yang and picks up a Heroine robe. And ain't nothing like a Heroine robe on that Rydia to make you feel better about damage early.
Although he's put it on Porum, which works just as well. But yeah.
Oh, fair.
You like it. Plus 10 to strength, plus 10 to agility. You're going to be firing off a lot of fast actions against these slow early bosses, and the bow's going to hit a lot harder thanks to that. It's a huge... Yep.
Bought the Elven bows as well, I saw, so I definitely understand that. Porum in the one real... I mean, on top of those, which are huge bonuses, but the physical defense you get from that as well is not something to be glossed over, because that whoever's wearing that's full clear on physical attacks for the overworld.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Wearing that robe tucked into the back row, you're not afraid at all of physical.
And Pancrest is choosing to go Ordeals before taking on that Fabul spot. Maybe this has something to do with wanting XP on those Cecils.
Might be. Might decide that he's had enough with leveling up these Dark Knights and that they're ready to go, but this CPU is going to be a slog for him. And to answer your chat question, Pepita, can adult Rydia equip the Heroine robe? Yes. Any female character, regardless of age, can wear the Heroine.
And there's one thing that Heroine robe's not going to speed up all that much.
No. I'm calling this vanilla. I know some of you people say you can't have a vanilla Fabul gauntlet when there's an alt gauntlet, but do not deny me my ice cream. This counts as vanilla.
Fortunately, the Thor Rages, I believe for a majority of the enemies here, 1 or 2 of them will get you through. But as far as, Blaze having found all that bonus damage, is going to feel a lot like you're gaining a lot more time once you see that CPU, for example, more than this type of battle where that Heroine robe's not speeding up those Thor Rages.
No, yeah, that Heroine robe is going to look great for that CPU fight. The CPU's stuck in the back row, and can you even back row glitch a Dark Knight? I don't think so. But that bow and arrow will deal full damage to the CPU without any concern.
This actually is a pretty nice boss to come across here for Pancrest.
Oh, yeah. Octomom is weak to darkness, so it's a good time to be swinging a couple of dark swords, and after a few attacks, it'll slow down. And actually, it'll probably be gone before it even gets a chance to slow down.
It won't slow down too much. You'll keep a fair number of those tentacles as you fall off the bridge. But when you have something like an early magma key, there's no longer the safety precautions on Ordeals, and this back attack spot in particular can roll you some real mean fights. And fortunately, for our runners at least, this wasn't one of them.
Yeah, of the three bosses here, the middle one is the most dangerous.
And Pepita, yeah, I think I would agree with Leo that this is the vanilla role for this boss. Maybe the quasi vanilla role, but whatever we call it, I did mention previously that I bought some ice cream, and now it's all just making me hungry the longer we talk about this.
Well, there's been a lot of vanilla. The Full Gauntlet, the Cecil, the Edward in Damcian, and the Porum in Mysidia.
And that Edge is looking beefier and beefier for when we realize that he's not appearing in this seed, at least.
Well, now we have a spoon to eat all of that vanilla, as long as we can deal with ha ha ha.
Yep, and that's a Luca key from the Fable Defense, and that was, if I have it correctly, that was a full moon from Sheila 1. So Sheila may have the goods, but we're going to have to find the pan if Sheila is hiding the goods from us.
Well, the dancing dagger has been located.
Right on time. So I am curious, we haven't seen either of them go to check the treasury, although for both of them, I think it makes sense that you want enough levels when you go check the treasury to go up Zot and feel comfortable enough about clearing those bosses, because they are slightly more dangerous than anything else we've come across so far in the overworld.
Yeah, you've already seen all the characters you're going to see for a while. You've got in the back of your mind who they are. You're not going to have any immediate decisions impacted by getting that treasury out of the way now. So it makes sense to handle it in an efficient manner as possible.
Yeah, so I think we'll see our two runners change places before. Now, this is the question, Leo. Are you interested in taking care of Baron, or do you want to do Earth just for the convenience of routing?
That is a good question, because those two do seem to be places to be. Who was the Baron boss? Who handed over that Baron?
I couldn't tell you, but I don't think I can ever remember that check more than 4 seconds after it happens, even in my own races.
Yeah, even if I remember that, that might be the deciding factor. Otherwise, all things being equal, I lean towards Zot. It's a bit tougher in terms of hit points, but the treasury's right there to make my life better, and I've got 2 character checks instead of just 1. Slight edge towards Zot for those reasons.
Yep, and that will drop you off right outside Baron Castle for Baron Inn and the Baron bosses. So I wouldn't disagree with that routing. And
Coffee and Chocobos is correct. It was Antlion, in which case, yeah, let's go take it. Might push me back in that direction. Tough call, though.
that is a tough call. This party doesn't have much in terms of non-physical attacks to avoid that counter. Granted, the Heroine Robe is going to, give you a pretty decent go with that regardless. I think we'll see Zerk on Porum relatively soon as well. We're going to really just get that child into punish mode.
Yeah, and I think you just fire away with her and accept the fact that you're going to eat some counters and turn everyone else into a case.
These Zot characters and that Baron character are going to be very interesting. If I have Pankraz's team right now, and I know I have a Porum in the wings waiting potentially to be slingshot, a big part of me is thinking I'm looking for one more physical damage dealer over, at least I would be more excited for that than finding someone like Rosa. Because what I'm looking at is, a Cecil Anchor and 2 Zerkers with Tella and a White Mage to cast the second Berserk spell. Meanwhile, Moonblaze Wolf is looking for almost the exact opposite.
Yeah, he's already picked up a white mage and a black mage in the form of a caller, so probably hoping to pick up Kane or an edge somewhere. I know he's not as big a fan of Cecil, so I'd be a little surprised to see him go the double Cecil route with white mage.
Well, if I'm Blaze here and I'm going Zot and Baron, I think number one on my list right now would be a Palom. I could slingshot along with these two other mages. Because I don't think I'm looking to take another physical attack character. I think with that curse ring, your center Cecil is going to serve as, a decent enough Zerker if it comes down to it. But you're looking for I'm looking for at least pure reflex strats 5 that team.
Agreed. It definitely does look like it's heading in that direction.
But if you're sitting with those edge weapons, you could very easily transition to, well, we'll take that edge because that's free damage.
Right. You don't argue with that. Not one bit. You might not be able to steal sirens with them on these flags. In fact, you can't steal sirens with them on these flags. But he can still get some work done in on you, and that spoon's just sitting around waiting for something.
So our two runners here, as we see Blaze head into this Golbez fight, I don't think also won't be too big of an issue. The magic attack here isn't enough to cause too much of a concern. This is going to be, they might converge here on Earth, or as was brought up, we might be seeing the Baron check next.
Yeah, and I've still been turning your question over in my mind, and I keep going back to Earth, even with that Antlion, just because of the dropping off in Baron. I like the efficiency of the routing.
Yeah, I like the efficiency of the routing. I think now that Tella is online, you do have, for Pankraz, you do have the ability to cast Berserk on, whichever Cecil you're giving all of your beefed up weapons to. So the Earth fights might be a little bit longer, a few thousand hit points more than you're going to see in Baron, but should be pretty easy to get through now. What would you rate that treasury?
I give it a 5. It wasn't horrible, but nothing really wowed me. It's gonna be a little better for Blaze's party. I like the Black Robe for him. I like the Life Staff if he pivots from Murder Child to Healer. And there were a couple other miscellaneous things. Moonveil is nice, and a Bandana is some damage source, but nothing that made me jump out and go, well, I'm glad I came here.
Yeah, the Moonveil certainly caught my eye, just as something with 2 Cecils on your team. Any physical boss with the cover strats is at least going to be, it might be a slight slog, but you can have one free, very difficult fight. But as far as gear is concerned for this party, nothing to, immediately stop and start equipping.
No, yeah. Nothing that's going to make me go, wow, now I hope I find such character, See a white or a Dragoon Spear, and all of a sudden I'm keeping my eyes peeled for a Kane. There was nothing like that.
Yeah, and we're seeing a little more shopping for Pankraz. An interesting choice of just going into the treasury and then backing out. There is some good shopping, I will say, to be had on these seats, particularly when you're underground, and you are going to have a lot more dough to spend once you have gone through that treasury at the least.
Yep, and he does pick up a Dwarf Axe, which he can use to backrow glitch anyone that's wielding it, and as we discussed earlier, will take 5 off of his Anchor's agility.
Yeah, and the Aegis Shield in a Rune Ring are both nice to have. They offer mage defense, and this is a play I saw Pankraz make in his last race that I watched. this Luca key, you often hear about the door grind, but if you haven't watched a lot of these races, this is not the usual application of the door grind that you might be accustomed to. But as you'll see here, you can get some very good free levels up very quickly. So the typical application of this door grind is with a wall caster, because one of the things that, I would hope nobody else discovered as a child either, because this is my least favorite dungeon in playing vanilla when I was younger, is you can actually just go right ahead and reflect the disrupt off of this search. So all you got to do is veil up the characters you want to keep alive and knock down the characters you don't, and you will get a free kill on this door.
Yeah, and Direwolf asking not using the easy way. I think the concern was to make sure that the second Cecil was dead. Yeah, exactly. He might go with that now. The typical way of handling this is your first character is a melee swinger, and both he and your wall caster are at RA1. Melee character immediately puts a swing in to buffer the queue, and that gives you time between the search and the disrupt to get your wall in place, but that would not have left time to drop.
Yep, and that's one of those strats. I can't speak with certainty. Maybe Pancras can answer this later, but when you don't have a full party, sometimes the ability to manipulate how quickly you get things off gets changed rather drastically. So with 3 people, I'm not sure if that would be a possibility, but definitely did want that Cecil dead one way or the other.
And yeah, you're right, Coffee and Chocobos. This is not the greatest spot for Ruby, particularly not with this party. We're going to get our first taste of how the fire counter comes. Now, actually, nope, we're fine. Those 2 numbers there. I'm guessing those are ice arrows on Porum, knocking out 1,000 each, and minimal damage on the counter. We're good here.
Yeah, these arrows are actually buffering up. Not seeing that. I can't think of the name of the spell.
Glare?
The glare. There it is. That would be the real
long
threat.
Time without a glare. There it is.
So your only concern here is the RNG on that glare cast, and went well enough, I guess.
Yeah. Could have slowed things up a little bit if that glare had hit Porum, but everything is fine, and taking down a high spot with a bit of guile. Love to see it.
Yeah, and these 2 runners are, essentially going to be going through all of these fights with relatively opposite strats. Even in this position, without the heroine robe, I don't even think there's a bow here. This is going to be Telly using Ice 3 and Cecil bringing.
It's almost all of the job done there. We still need about another 1,000 to go. But that's what Virus is for.
Yeah, that equated to about a barrage.
We're almost there. You don't mind seeing Kanazu at the Golbez spot, to be perfectly honest. That spot's only got about, I think, 3,000 hit points. So you're looking at a paltry 120-ish for the wave splash. You just got to get through whoever's first. Oh, hi! Hello, Ninja.
Yeah, that is an interesting choice for both of our runners. I think, as I was saying earlier, Pancras is more set up right now to immediately want that edge, but Blaze is showing it's hard to turn down an edge with the weapons we currently have.
Especially on T-Pro, where your loot options are less impressive. fact that you got a Murasame at all is amazing, and you definitely want to be swinging it.
Yep, you also, the reward from Sheila 1 was that full moon. So even if Blaze did happen to sell that ninja sword, you have back row, you have Hanzo Steel, and you essentially have the replacement longsword and a back row glitch. But this does essentially fill the party for Moonblaze Wolf.
If you de-machine grind, yes, because he'll need Tella for that 5th slot. But depending on how well hidden that darkness crystal is, it might not even be what happens. You could Mac Giant grind, actually, with this crowd. It's not as efficient as a D-Machine, but it would open up the 5th slot for someone other.
Yeah, this will get curious. This edge is going to be huge for both of our runners, at least as far as getting through until you find that darkness crystal. And a Mac Giant grind might be great for Blaze. I do think at this point Blaze maybe regrets having someone like that Rydia on your team, though, now that you're sort of looking at damage party. Because you are sort of waffling right now on the decision of, do I want a second Cecil so I can let this one be free? Am I gonna, what is my Zeromus fight going to look like? What is my grind going to look like?
Yeah, it's very much starting to look like hybrid. Not sure what Rydia's agility is at, if it's it's definitely not too late to anchor her with a curse ring. That's the way if you can find something to turn Cecil into.
Baigen might have posed a threat to some parties in some spots, even against this team without that edge. Might have, been waiting in the wings. Like, wait a minute, no, don't take that edge. I got mean Baigen things planned for you. But now we're looking. Compared to before we went up this tower, we now have a team that I am not concerned. We've gone through the Fey March. I don't think the Luca boss or the top of tower boss is going to be an issue. This is going to come down, I think, to routing choices, who finds darkness, and what the grind is going to be.
It's getting to that point, but still they gotta find go mode along the way, and that's still a bit. That's at least 2 key items, possibly 3.
Now, with that edge in hand, there's a part of me curious about even potentially early diving that Luca cave. We are going to see Baron in. This Baron check is kind of long. You do get a good chunk of XP from the Dwarf Castle fights. You do know that second boss is going to be relatively free. I don't think I've had some races like this. I always describe it as these are hindsight is 2020 decisions that you have to make.
Yeah, it does largely come down to what bosses are there, but do this enough times, you get a sense for what sort of things you've seen there, how likely a spot is trouble. It's partly art, partly science, I think.
Yeah, none of the choices are particularly faster anymore. I think maybe this Baron in fight for Pankraz is his final quicker check compared to the rest, but I wouldn't be surprised if you decide to route somewhere else as opposed to Baron Castle now that this edge is on your team.
Pankraz has cleared Baron in. We're going to get to see another key item. Well, hey, that helps.
That is a very curious item there. Now we were, what, 2 of 3 of 4 items? 2 of 4 items? We're now 2 of 3 items.
We were 2 or 3. Now we are definitely 2 items of 3 possible.
Okay, so Pankraz also going in. I do hope that Moonblaze Wolf does remember to route that back in as someone who, when you have when you have an early magma, when you have Baron Key, when you have Earth Crystal, all these checks, Baronin does periodically fall by the wayside in these flags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those initial 4 checks that are available from the get-go when you get clear of that part without finishing it completely, you can definitely forget some of them without any trouble.
But Forge, very easily given, this Pastor objective, it doesn't have to be the faster way to go mode by any means.
No. See what's laying here. If we were, for instance, to find a Legend Sword here in the Baron Trash Can, then that's suddenly Forge out the way. And then if passes are easier to get a hold of than Darkness, we might not ever see the Moon or the Machine Run.
Yep, that's when you hit real scramble mode.
Yeah, that's when you start getting creative. And start applying your knowledge as a runner, figuring out how you're going to handle the situation. Rosa and Baron gives us power.
And that could be, for Pankraz, that might be who I would consider completing my party with. I've seen some people in chat talk about stealing Bacchus, but with two Zerkers and Tella, at least for the opening round of Zeromus to cast Zerk with, and then that Rosa to keep somebody going the rest of the race. That's about as good of a Z fight as you're gonna get when you have to choose your characters for the entirety of your race.
Well, you can toss all of that speculation about what if we don't find a Darkness Crystal out the window. That's what's in the Baron Trash Can. That'll definitely get Blaze. Yep, straight over to Baron N, grab that Tella. Gonna get the Adamant verse trouble, but more importantly is gonna enable a D-Machine.
Yeah, so we are, as has so many times before happened in these table races, most likely going to see both of our runners at a dead sprint to pull off this Baron Manip and take their team from 3.5 up to about 9, maybe 11, depending on how many D machines you want to do.
And there's some speculation in chat about maybe chasing a 10th key item. Both of our runners will have 9 key items when they finish their respective checks. There's just not that much quick on the table. Luca is open as a relatively quick check, and at least if it fails to give you a key item, you can reset out. Would you chase a 10th, or would you just go?
If I am Pankraz in this situation, you might see me do the grind that would get Rosa up to white, but wouldn't get, superpower overwhelming on anyone else. But you do have, for Pankraz at least, a slingshot on this Rosa, and she is going to be the one that, the levels matter the most. Because my thing is, with this vanilla Murasame altar as now an available check that is also a required check, I'm more interested in getting my grind and going to that. You might peak that just before, but that's where my head is at right now, if I just picked up Darkness.
And Direwolf is pointing out that the Baron Basement's available. Something else I have a bad tendency to overlook in less attentive moments. And there's also a Dwarf Castle. Hey!
Yep, and I think with Blaze's party, you have, I wouldn't call it the luxury, but knowing you're not really slingshotting anybody, I don't think you have that huge rush if you still have checks that you think you can make with your current party to try to pick up a 10th. But with Pankraz with at least one slingshot spot open for, that white mage you just located, I think it's a harder choice for them. Ooh.
Elements, because we've seen Rubicant at the tower.
Yeah, that's going to be a no from me.
Yeah, it's just going to hit too hard. I'd be tempted, but it's the sort of thing. Well, no, I'd be tempted with Blaze's party. Pankraz, no.
And it looks like
I'm looking at that and thinking pure reflect strats, but yeah, I'm not sure I have enough faith in Tella to get that through.
is gearing Tella up as much as possible. I think trying to decide if Cure 4 or Fire 3 might be the better damage item, because we might see Pankraz heading up to this.
It might be. I'm pretty sure Fire 3 is the better one. You get the fire weakness, and it's 30 MP versus 40. You've got 3 fires in the chamber versus only 2 Cure 4s. And we're looking at, what are we looking at in that spot? About 20,000, a little over 20,000. So even if those Cure 4s were hitting for quads, and they won't be, it's 3.
I think part of the calculation between the two, though, is the bonus from the life staff, but also Cure 4's cast time is substantially
that's fair.
for Fire 3. So maybe just, you need a certain amount of speed if you want this strategy to work, because
True.
Tella's not going to survive too long. But maybe you want to explain what we're looking at here. As far as the strategy, because this is the vanilla element strategy from the speedrun, I believe.
Alright. So what we have going on here is that elements, normally if you fight them without thinking too much about it, are going to transition through all 4 of the elemental fiends that you fought earlier in the game. However, that transition is a counter-attack script, and all counter-attack scripts do not trigger when you use reflected spells. So the general way of dealing with this is to deal all of your damage through reflected spells, and that way you don't have to transition from the relatively safer Mylon phase to the more dangerous one.
Yeah, you cut down on the total damage you have to do in a spot like this. With the gear that Cecil has, you at least know that what you're up against, I believe, is undead damage and physical attacks. Rubicante in this spot, I would not have taken regular Rubicante, but the Rubicante form, those magic attacks are going to be no joke. So this is probably maybe the only way this party can safely get through here.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking about not needing the full 20 grand reflect traps. So maybe 2 fires gets the job done. In the meantime, Blaze has got... And the other thing about counterattack scripts, if you finish the person off, you don't have to worry.
Well, on one side, that strat certainly paid out. And we'll see if Blaze also picks up a 10th.
Nah, just a mute knife.
If you're not going for a slingshot, you did get 40,000 XP if you decide you want to keep chasing other bosses, but on the opposite side, if you're gonna do a D machine grind, there's just more health you have to heal up too. But this pan is a very spicy pickup given the objectives and the key items that we currently possess.
Yep, 2 chances to find what we're looking for go mode, either the pass or the Legend Sword gets the job done.
And this is, I think some people in chat maybe bringing it up. This is the danger of not only the table flags, but competing against people who are also very, very fast at this game. Is anything as long as something like Dwarf Castle that you make while your opponent is making another check, if that, as CNC said in chat, that coin flip doesn't pay out in your favor, and it does pay out in your opponent's favor, and this could very well sum up some of what we've seen from all of Blaze's races. Played excellently, but you also need Rando to occasionally, line up correctly to get through.
Heroine Robe is nice, even at this stage, but no. Wait, does Pancras even have any women in his party?
Not yet. I think we will see. I would personally take that Rosa, but Pancras has not decided yet. But this, I think, is going to inform. Whoop.
Bam. Go mode. Sheila handing over the goods. That is all that's needed. Pancras grind. Head up to the Murasame altar, come back down to Earth, and open the pass door on his way to taking down Pancras.
Yep, my head is trying to run through if there's anything, that might be faster, but not knowing who's at that Murasame altar, you just want to grind probably in this situation and then go. We do have an Eddie, but I think Eddie's going to continue practicing his harp.
Yeah, I think when you have access to a D-Machine grind, that you're better off doing that than playing with Edward strats. You might, if you're an ace with the Edward strats, get that fight done quicker than a D-Machine / normal fight. I wouldn't swear to that. But even if you do, one mistake means that you're adding another 15 minutes to your time, whereas a mistake on a more traditional Z fight is only going to add maybe 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, the danger, particularly since you have a moon fight you have to do, it's not something. Having had to do Eddie strats twice in this, particularly in high pressure situations, I know Pancras wants that 5-1. Regardless of if you're already in, it is nerve-wracking to say the least to try to maintain focus for that long. But as Dissatisfied in chat points out, Baron had the value. We've had the Baron key for quite some time. Zot was maybe worth the friends you made along the way, but all of Go Mode, I believe, sitting right there with that first key item handed off from our restreamer Alicell's role here.
You're not wrong. Baron key handed off immediately. Darkness in the trash. And over in the basement, which led to the pass. It all went through Baron.
And we did see the Rosa pickup, which was at least what I was anticipating here. Really getting Rosa to levels where she is going to be safe is the one character who matters the most for the eventual Zeromus fight that's coming up, and she is getting slingshotted, so it might be interesting to see how many D-Machines are eventually done by Pancras here, but I wouldn't predict doing too many more than what you need just to get Rosa that slingshot.
Yeah, melee party doesn't need nearly as much XP to be ready, and Rosa with her much better hit point growth, and when she learns Cure 4, she doesn't need as much XP as a traditional mage if she's not going to be serving in the damage.
And I am curious, we had a long discussion in the Discord about the step routing that everybody takes to try to set up this Baron Manip. And it looks like Pancras is maybe doing groups of 5.
Looks that way. Like a 5-step back and forth.
I'm a big proponent of the 1 step each back and forth. But it seems like everyone has their own way of counting, whether it be by 1s and 2s or 5s, 10s, or 20s.
Yeah, I will make a loop that is 10 steps, so that every time I come back to the same corner, I know I'm on a set of 10. I seem to be alone.
I go back and forth, but I also use the button that slows down the walking.
Oh yeah, definitely. I have to use that. I will miss one of my turns.
Yeah, I set up enough of these wrong when I was starting these that I've realized
Oh
the time
my goodness.
there is
Got to reset. Got to turn encounters off afterwards. You name it, I've probably made it.
Yep, the odds even as someone in chat is saying is something I realized that I need to rely on because I'll occasionally count faster than I'm actually taking the steps. So when I get out of that encounter, I can double check at least if I should be on an odd or an even number, which is I wouldn't call it the correct theory, but that's just what I've come up with to at least reassure myself enough so that I feel like I can choose the correct encounter select moving forward after that. And it looks like was that the pink tail that came from that Leviathan fight up at the top of tower?
Yeah. So at least it wasn't much more of a rabbit hole. Blaze might be thinking it's time to go to the moon, or at least just get the grind out of the way.
That was the 10th key item that Blaze was looking for, just unfortunately it wasn't as valuable as the one that Pancras found.
I don't know if Pancras was wondering if his encounters were on, but I was starting.
You certainly start to get anxious at some point.
Right? I will walk the Baron Manip all the way out rather than reset because I don't trust myself to have reset hotkey to my controller, so it's grab the mouse, slide over, etc. So not worth it as much. I've walked a D machine all the way out to 131, and somewhere around 60 or 70 is usually when I will go into the menu and go, Huh?
And to answer Etar83's question, the pass came from the Baron Basement Throne, which was the Elements fight that gave the Pan and the Sheila 2 check. Turned out to be the pass. A little more backstory, the starting key item was actually the Baron key, which gave the Darkness Crystal and that Pan into eventual pass. So they never had to do much besides, set the ship down and just go walk into Baron if you were routers relishing this somehow.
Well, good luck on that with Darknet, Cecil, and Rydia. Hats off to you. Welcome on in, Panda Peach and various friends. The race, as you can see, is underway. We have Go Mode on one side and a grind. And Moonblaze Wolf not too far behind that particular set.
Yeah, and this is... So there's still a key item out there that will give Moonblaze Go Mode. And not too many checks left underground. I think the Luca key is the only key item check underground that we haven't seen so far. But fortunately, I think for Moonblaze, there really aren't too many chase down key item hunts left. And if he does choose not to take that Basement Throne, that Legend Sword is still out there and at large.
Yeah, and the most convenient thing for him would for it to be at Murasame Altar. think Blaze does his grind and knocks out the objective he knows he's got, and is probably hoping that it has Legend or Pass. We, of course, know it won't have Pass, but it could still have.
Yep. And Pancras having that pass in hand is giving Pancras a pretty sizable advantage just from wouldn't have to walk the moon either if Forge is going to be the objective that gets Blaze the crystal, which is just unfortunate. I mean, one check right, one check wrong can swing these things as much as you've seen right here.
Mm-hmm. That is all it takes. And I mean, if you've watched any of Moonblaze's Wolf's races in this tournament, this isn't any different. Raced a really good race, was step and step. I think he got through Baron first, actually, before Pancras got around to it. But just made a perfectly reasonable call when there were several options available, and it just wasn't the right one.
Yeah, they were essentially, after they had both done Baron Castle proper and Baron Inn, like you said, Leo, step and step. So this is how much these races, particularly, you know, when you're moving at the same pace as your opponent, this is how much they hinge on specific checks paying off or not paying off. And Pancras is done with his grind, and I believe someone in chat had pointed out the best way to get the maximum amount was to actually slingshot your other Cecil and have the previous damaged Cecil be the one to take a nap at the end.
Yes. I've pulled that stunt. It works very well when, as these runners have, you've got both the curse string and the weapon to make sure that the Cecil you had been leveling can still serve as it.
Yeah, and that 10 key item bonus, that was about 1.6 million, I believe, for that Rosa. She is now sitting at 3,000 hit points. One Cecil, I think I saw 4,000. So this is not going to be a concern to take a full big bang.
No, just and you've got good Hanzo Steel on one side for dealing some damage, but yeah, I'm not worried about the defense of this party. I'm a little worried about their offense. I'd like to see what things Pancras has to throw in that inventory. I think Pancras is really hoping for a solid Cecil weapon.
Yep, choosing to take this trap chest. This actually has, I believe, arguably the highest, outside of maybe the moon trap chest, or up with the moon trap chest, the highest chance of giving a tier 7 item.
You are correct.
No, it's not.
That's a miss. It's a good dart.
Yeah, you can throw it.
It's a good dart. That's about all I got for you. To answer your question, Etar, with a curse string and minus 15 agility, I think you can take Cecil probably to the low 30s and still have him be a serviceable anchor. Combine that with the Dwarf Axe, you can take him into the mid 40s as Pancras has done a good job.
Yeah, with the current party setup and with the levels that Rosa, Cecil, and that Edge have, even a 8-ish agility Cecil, so 28 with the minus 20 would still basically give everyone that RA1, excluding our old man Mage Tello, who just got you all those levels and is now probably going to be napping.
Yeah. It's not worth it offensively. No, it's not worth it from an attacking standpoint. However, it does help make sure that even with that curse string on, Cecil has a chance to survive some unnerfed big bangs, and just having another person around as a chemist isn't the worst thing.
Yeah, 28 agility would be fine. When you with this party makeup, you're definitely seeing a second Big Bang and maybe a third. So you're probably just gonna end this fight, or at least I think Pankraz looking for that weapon and not finding one. It's probably gonna come down to Edge and Rosa, just because that Cecil. The Cecil with the 4,000 hit points is probably going to stay alive, but not going to be the primary Zerk target. At least that would be my guess.
Agreed. And Edge is just a little more squishy. If you've managed to find a ninja shirt, then he can maybe stand up to some more Big Bangs, but that's the shaky part of this. Typically, for Berserkers, you're thinking, all right, my white mage stays alive and just keeps slapping Cure 4s and we keep going. But if you keep having to get the Berserkers back up and reapply the spell, it becomes a lot more time consuming.
Yeah, I think the Cure 4s will do enough to keep that Edge alive. I am not entirely sure. You might, just for comfort's sake, at some point stop bothering with the Edge, or you might switch to Dark the Spoon.
Well, he is at 2,500 hit points now, so that is at least good to see. It's going to take one of the high roll Big Bangs to put him on down. I agree that he should be staring each under Big Bang pretty full on hit points with Rosa at work.
Yep, and in retrospect, that was a fight you could have gotten through, essentially. Whatever the heck you wanted.
Would you like another Dragoon Lance? Yes, as you were saying, you could have taken this fight anytime after Ordeals, probably. Just have to make sure your Cecil doesn't take that initial melee attack and pop him for the second kick.
So this isn't something I would recommend, not for the kids or the runners out there, but there was the possibility, at least, of if you check that before deciding to grind, getting straight through that and trying to turn in some sort of hybrid strat to save the time you would have spent on the grind. Again, wouldn't recommend that. Probably wouldn't even consider trying it in a race like this, but...
No, I would not. I mean... I really admire the racers that are more aggressive and try and make that check, but generally once you have access to a grind, if there's any question about a boss spot, you just go ahead and knock the grind out first, so that way when you get there you can be sure. That being said, you mentioned you mentioned a router's relish of this. I'm pretty sure a router's relish of this involves a cheeky Murasame move and Eddie strats. Or 1200 HP.
Yep, some sort of hybrid into Eddie, whatever it might be, but people are flying all of these flags. I think you said relish, and maybe this is some sort of food cart that they're calling for.
Could be. Oh, no. Wait. Someone else is saying, is there a but?
Is there a but? Yeah, maybe there's a question. Maybe you want to...
I think so. I believe it goes something like, whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
That is the question. I see Scala Kitty in chat as well. The primary creator of the sprites, I believe at last check we have something like 83,000 sprites, all created by Scala Kitty, all hand pixeled. If it's less, don't tell me, because I won't believe you anyway. Zeromus a little too rude to move around, so Zeromus stays in the same place but wears a lot of different hats.
Here in a moment, we get to see what our Z-Sprite is. I've not seen this one before.
This is certainly a new one for
me. Is that what it said? It says Cackleness. Scala, what is Cacklemus? Please tell us.
It's from something.
Ah,
Someone
from
in the
Mario
chat
and
box.
Luigi Superstar Saga. Okay, that is a new one on me. Definitely. Always fun to see a new Z sprite.
Yeah, whenever you think you've seen them all, you get a new one out of those 80-some thousand. So no surprise that I haven't seen them all yet. And
Right.
always fun to see more. And always big props to Scala Kitty for all the time they put in. But I'm curious. So it looks like we might see a reflected spell or two. We have not zerked up that edge. We have chosen to zerk that Cecil and hitting for 3k, so
Yeah, it's like Pancras is getting the high value darts out early and getting zerks on other people. Finding time for a reflected white. The melee weapons that this team is rocking, I can understand wanting to get in as much damage as possible.
maybe these Team Poison Axe people were on to something. I won't ever admit it, but
Well, if you get high enough level, as you level up, that you inherently add accuracy to your attacks, and the biggest drawback for using an axe is that low accuracy. So, in the hands of a higher level character, it's safer than when you first get old.
that is a fair point. Blaze on the other side has now completed objective number 2. So the Murasame altar is completed. This is the eternal question when you find yourself completing an objective on the moon, but you aren't in go mode. And that question is, which direction are we looking for more butts that we want to destroy post-drive?
I had the urge. I heard my cue, but yeah, you don't want to go back and forth between Moon and Earth over and over again. And there is that strong tendency once you get here to not go back.
Yeah, certain runners have specific preferences. Mine is based on however I'm feeling during that particular seed, because there's a high density of key items. Blaze has cleared the Fey March, Top of Tower, and Baron and Earth already. So this is by far the most dense key items. Unfortunately, not going to lead to the pass, but very well could lead to that Legend Sword.
Oh, but we have rocks. Pancras has pushed enough damage through to get past that dangerous second phase. It was a nuke into Big Bang that really worried me if it got that far, but got enough damage to not face that. And we should be in very soon. Got a little victory dance from Rosa. And Pancras is done. GG.
Yeah, that dance through the crumble. That is win number 5 for Pancras. GG's to them. We'll get an official time up. There it is, 121.07. So joining the exclusive 5-1 club, I will have to get him one of the decoder rings at some point. But we'll have to see if he's coming in for an interview.
If 5-1 gets Dakota rings, then what did Dusty?
Dusty already had the decoder ring. Dusty beat them at 5-0. GG Pancras, I believe we are joined.
Thank you.
So you see that elements fight, you see a life staff, you see various equipment, and I mean, how strong were you going into that on any other potential check? Because you were just looking for 10 key items there.
Yeah, more or less. Um, I was considering maybe doing a dwarf or a keyless tower, as if it didn't end up working out. But since I didn't have any ethers for a D machine grind, really, I knew that either I'd have to hunt those down, or I could do one more check to try and gamble for a 10th key item. And luckily, elements paid off.
Paid off big.
Oh yeah.
You were essentially at the same spot as Blaze when Blaze chose the latter of the two options you just described. And it wasn't too much there. So how do you feel about the double Cecil taking two Cecils with the Black Sword? Like, where are you at in your headspace as far as, who else is going to be on this team? Like, what is my routing looking like here?
I really like the double Cecil with Black Sword early, especially if the other character options are a bit grim. Like in this seed, we had a couple Rydias, a lot of Porums, and an Edward, I think, as the other options. So a Black Sword Cecil is probably going to be my best physical DPS to get through a lot of overworld stuff. Finding a second one on Hobbs is just gravy, because that means I can continue using a Cecil throughout the game, and I don't have to necessarily add another physical fighter if I want to go all mages. Plus, it enables some fun stuff with RA1 Tela.
That's something you don't hear every day. RA1 Tela.
Oh, yeah.
Having a utility mage that can fire off your first action is definitely useful. You showed that in a few different places.
And this is the second time I saw your last race. I've been watching you very intently.
Understand.
Welcome to 5-1. Welcome to 5-1 and all of that. But this is the second straight time I think I've seen you do that early, quick grind in the Luca Cave. Your party wasn't the same, but the result was pretty similar.
Yeah, so with this seed, I like diving up Zot early, especially with bad character options, because A, you get the chance for the gated character check for an edge, and B, it's just more characters, so maybe you find something that's actually decent. But I knew that with like my level 12 Cecil and a Poison Axe, it was going to be a rough time trying to get up there and fight those bosses. So I figured one door, get him up to the low 20s, should give him enough of that oomph in order to get up there. And it turns out that Rubicon also was very weak to Ice 3, so that maybe wasn't necessary, but it did help.
That Ice 3 hit very hard.
Yeah, it was like 7,400 or something.
Yeah, and we were speculating as you were both you and Blaze were facing that choice at the same time, Baron or Earth, and that Magicister spot has a lot of hit points, so being able to take advantage of the elemental weakness had to feel nice.
Oh yeah, definitely. I had something similar in my last race with McBain, where it was elements there instead of Rubicon, and just blasting with elemental weaknesses can make that fight pretty quick.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I've been following you around. We just happen to have tasks in the same general area for the last.
Sure.
But no, I think for some people who maybe haven't raced too much against you in some of the recent asyncs and the pickup races, this might come as a surprise. For me, this comes as no surprise at all. And I don't think you were too concerned headed into this one that you were going to make it to the round of 16, but I think I can officially welcome you to the round of 16 now.
Well, hopefully. I mean, I thought I had a decent shot, even though my strength of schedule has been... I had a favorable draw compared to some people, and even if I did go 4-2, I thought, okay, maybe it'll be a little rough, but this win helps with that.
Yeah, you don't have to anxiously look at the strength of schedule.
No.
I'm there.
I mean, I looked at the spreadsheet that Andonel made last night, and that was enough to send me in a worry. So this is a nice weight on the shoulders.
Well, the draft is coming up soon. Yeah, 5-1. Someone's gonna have to pick you and race against you. If I am drafting, it's probably not going to be me.
Well, they don't have to pick him. They could shove him off into the
Yeah,
other
the
half
very
of the
last
bracket
pick,
and
I'm just
hope he gets
terrified
knocked
to
out.
Yeah, all true. But for real, for this being, I believe, at least, uh, is this your first tournament with Free?
Yeah, I joined the community right around the end of the Blue Gauntlet at the start of May, and here I am.
Yeah. So the Cinderella story,
The
at
transformation.
Augusta is it's the dream is still alive, and deservedly so. So I not sure if Leo has any questions, but from me, at least, once more, congrats. And
Thank you very much.
again,
No,
it wasn't sus. It was just
I got my questions.
tasks.
We're good.
Okay. I'll take care. And yeah, thanks again for letting us watch.
Of course. You all have
Best
a
of
good
luck
rest
to you
of the
in the next stage.
Thanks. I'm sure I'll need it. There's a lot of great runners out there. And thanks to all of you on the Restream team for this race. I look forward to watching it back.
And yeah, we've had several new runners that have come in and done very well in this tournament. Pancras and Possumorpheus, for example. It's a very welcoming community. The people that are the old hands, such as PK here, that have been through a couple tournaments and know what they're doing with this, are more than happy to share their knowledge. So if you've been watching this and it looks interesting to you, go take a look at the Discord. There's all sorts of things for you to learn there, and go ahead and download the randomizer and give it a shot yourself.
Yes, there are no bad questions. There are questions that I think are the best possible questions, which is try to ask as many of the people on the admin team whether or not we can have playable Golbez in the foreseeable future, which I think is something that they just need to be reminded of periodically, that we're all waiting for with bated breath. The Discord.
I'm getting some pings that I need to quickly stab you and vent out. So,
but no, the Discord is phenomenal. This is my second tournament. I got involved just if I'm wherever I am at in this tournament, it's because during Zima Zone 2, I was watching these and trying to figure out how to get started, and the community welcomed me. And my idea that maybe, just maybe, Golbez might become one of the players in the game, which I made up. I came up with that.
We have you to blame. Okay.
And as chat pointed out, Blaze did pick up the rat tail. The rat tail, according to chat, which since we're being sus, is a little sus coming from chat, but finding the hook would lead to the legend sword. But it looks like not all who wander are lost. We are going to get a check of the music. Eddie has been practicing all seed.
Yep. And now we get to hear what the tune is. Blaze Wolf, man of the people, giving us our music.
Yep, so along with the Zeromus sprite and our Job Dwarf, some of these cutscenes or a boss that's too hard to move around, we still randomize. And we have quite the pool of available music. Is there a particular song you're looking for here, Leo?
The Oath from Final Fantasy VIII. Always.
Well, I'm hoping for, I believe the Game of Thrones song is in here. And I always find it fitting for my attitude. So once Eddie falls on the ground, the harp will get up and play us the song. That wasn't one that I personally recognized. I saw one or two.
It's FF5. Chat is correct.
Okay. I will trust your opinion on that one. That is leading to the tower key, which I believe someone in chat said we are looking for the hook, which I was incorrect in saying it was at music. I believe it's at the Luca key. Did you see that, Leo?
Yeah, hook is at Lukaki. And legend is at the rat tail turn-in. We saw that from the spoiler log. And actually, just by counting, we know that there's just going to be an item for the super cannon room. The pan, we know, is in the basement. The legend sword is in Adamant Grotto. The hook is at the bottom of Luca Key. And those are the only key items that Moonblaze Wolf is missing that he can pick up along the way.
So these routing choices will be curious. It looks like, yep, headed on to the Luca Cave. This is a nice little check because you are capable of checking the key item before having to actually clear the boss. And with that rat tail in hand, I believe this is going to be a boss we're going to see Moonblaze take on. But for those of you not familiar, Moonblaze is a very big streamer, a great speedrunner. They were, I believe, top 4 or top 8 in the last tournament that we had.
I want to say he made semis. So
I believe he made semis as well. So Blaze is a phenomenal runner, as you saw. I mean, this was neck and neck up until those two paths chose to diverge. And if you like these speed runs, Blaze speed runs all sorts of different races. Definitely give them a follow if that's something you want to see. I know it's one of my favorite streamers. I pop in there quite regularly.
Yes. Because he's very relaxed. He's very calm. He's very chill. And so it's a very feel-good place for me to hang out.
Definitely. And that is the hook in hand. This is trying to think. There's really no boss that's out there that's going to do much to this team at this juncture. And Bahamut certainly wouldn't be on the list of bosses I would be afraid of at this point.
And this is going to get Blaze going. He's going to take that rat tail, turn it in along with the pink tail, and get Legend. That's going to give an Excal for his Cecil, which is certainly going to be appreciated. And he's going to wander down and shreds rooms.
Yeah, and while we're getting through this, another big shout out to Alicel, who has the responsibility of having rolled this seed as well as putting everything together, the audio, all the clipping. So Alicel, big thanks to, and Cassidy as well has been the one keeping track of the buttons, the objectives are tracker. And we have plenty more races coming up. Do you have that open, Leo? I can take a look if you'd like.
I've got it open. Later on today, we've got Prof. Corey and Scratch Dragon. That'll be... The racer should be starting in 6 minutes, and the stream will go live 15 minutes after that. That'll be over on RPG Limit. Back here on Free Enterprise at 8 o'clock, we've got Logos Ethos Pathos, also known as Stonedingly, facing off against Zyrak. That'll be 8 o'clock when the runners kick that off. And at 9:30 over on Randomania, we have Dathis and Xenocat squaring off to round out our restreamed matches. And for those of you that have Khadgar open, Gaming with a Wraith and Twisted Flax are facing off at 9 o'clock. That won't be restreamed, but you can set up a Khadgar link for that one.
Yeah, so plenty of races today. Plenty of races coming up tomorrow. I believe we just announced a few of them. We'll be on Free Enterprise, RPG Limit Break, back on Free Enterprise. We have a 6 p.m. race that with Baka and Logos Ethos Pathos. That's on at 6 p.m. on Freen. And it looks like some of the rest are getting set up, but everybody at this point, top 32, as somebody who's had 6 races against these people so far, I am still at awe at just the overall level of competitiveness that we've reached, and absolutely terrified moving forward that I have to play any of these people in a best 2 out of 3 situation.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. We've been just doing... We've done a lot of 1v1. You take your win, you take your loss, and then you move on to the rest of the phase. But once we get to the round of 16, the matches are best of 3 until we get to the finals, which will be a best of 5.
Yep, so we're moving past the stage of quick 1v1s into 1v1 series. I personally am a big fan of watching those. There have been some, in between the tournaments, there were some really phenomenal 1v1 series between a couple of our runners. The better you know the person you're racing against, the more crazy you might see. The more crazy I might make decisions, depending on, just how comfortable you are with, well, this person's got to be this far ahead of me or this far behind me, or we're running dead even. Which is why I was laughing about that, particularly something like that. The Karate Man up at the Murasame spot.
You see that, and I mentioned when I was talking about, loving to see runners making those aggressive plays. There are several runners that are like that. For me, Dia comes to mind.
Yep.
First of all, if I'm up against Dia, I'm in trouble already because of, how good she is. But in particular, if I see an easy moon boss that I'm only just now getting to, I'm going to assume that Dia knocked that out 25 minutes ago and went on.
Oh, definitely. And any time that you do see something like that moon boss that is required that you could have gotten through 20 minutes ago, when you've done something like a D machine grind, part of you, it always has to think, well, what if my opponent thought they were behind and that they needed to just go see if they could clear this fight and ran into this? Maybe now they're 12 minutes into Eddie strats.
Right.
And I had no choice but to just dead sprint to Zeromus.
Right. You see Eddie, you see objectives that could have been done earlier, and you get that, you get those nerves. I mean, personally, even in group flags, it was usually somewhere around 70 minutes, unless the seed was super trolly, that I was like, here's the done. Here's the done.
Yeah, dealing with the heightened nerves compared to, and for anyone who wants to join us, even as the tournament progresses, I believe we're going to move back to at least a once a week community race, something along those lines. When we're not doing tournaments, we have bi-weekly community races, pickup races. But just the stress level that you start putting yourself under the longer every second that ticks off that clock, it's just years off the lives. At least my life in this tournament so far, with some Eddie strats, I have been fortunate enough to have at least pay off in my favor instead of losing 13 minutes in 2.
Right. There's also the community club showcases that are going to come back when we've got more time. There are racing clubs that happen on various days of the week, and we've started showing them off in rotation, which has been another great opportunity to get more runners in the spotlight and give people practice with tracking, comms, and restreams. And also keep in mind, we're in tournament season, so we're really into the competitive nature of the tournaments and the wins and the strength of schedules and the tension. But this randomizer can be absolutely fun, just played casually. No timer, just download some flags, run through it, and work your way through it at your own pace and just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, even things like going back and seeing the movement speed on FF2 and even the early versions of the randomizer, and then just the improvements, the things you can learn from watching other people, playing Siege yourself. And like you said, Leo, we're all in pretty hardcore competitive mode right now, but once that goes away, everybody is still the nicest people. They were the nicest people during competitive mode. They just also want to win.
Yeah. And Pepita, to answer your question, yes, we had earlier this year a community race where the item glitch was on. The 2 starting characters were Edge and Edward, and the initial item handed over was a spoon.
So these are our competitive, the competitive racing flags are sort of meant to be a test of game knowledge, all of those things, but those glitches certainly show up we have a Sunday slapdash race. You will see things like that in our community races. But one last time, at least for Zima Zone 3 into the fray, for Moonblaze Wolf has an X-Cal Cecil in hand. So if there's a way to end the tournament with the next Cal Cecil swinging, might be how I want to go out too. And a glass of wine.
Moonblaze Wolf has had a great run. He went straight through the group stages to get to table here, and as we've mentioned, just had some rough luck, but there's absolutely no quit in this runner. I've seen him go for 50 some odd minutes after seeing his opponents done to make sure the race got done, and not surprised to see him going out his last match swinging against the ropes.
Yeah, Moonblaze has been somebody that I watched a very good amount when I was learning how to race this randomizer. Still somebody I watch a good amount. And Blaze, I think there were 100 or so entrants into our bracketology for this phase of the tournament, and 93, 94 out of 100 or 101 all picked Moonblaze to advance. So this is, I know I had Moonblaze advancing. This is somewhat of a surprise, but half a testament to everyone's respect for Blaze, and a testament to, just how competitive this field gets the more we narrow it down.
Yeah, it was going to happen to somebody, all of the people that we expected to go, somebody was going to get dealt the wrong side of the coin flips. It happened to be Moonblaze, but it could have been Invenerable, Dia, you, could have been any of them, honestly.
And only one person is going to win this tournament in the end. So we're all going to be on the sidelines.
It's true.
I'm still amazed I'm in this thing. I keep counting my blessings. I'm still in it. I'm not even sure if it's a blessing anymore that I'm still in it. I'm just getting ready. I'm getting ready for my eventual retirement from this tournament. I'm more than happy that I get to keep playing, but the ride, everybody involved with this tournament, the admins. This is our 200 and something restreamed race in this tournament. This is all gone just so wonderfully so far, and I only expect the best for whoever continues to move on.
Yeah. Blaze putting on a clinic here with Z. Darting with Zora. Darting with Edge. Got a zerked up Cecil that's going to be nigh impossible to take down. Not even sure he needed that cure for. Might get a phase tip before that even Big Bang comes out. We'll see in a moment. But either way, this is casual.
Yeah, the damage coming out. That Porum with 2,300 hit points is actually surprisingly stronger than you might think if you look just at that hit point total. That's similar levels to that Rosa had on Pankraz's side. So while a Big Bang can conceivably roll higher than that with the gear and everything else on that Porum is quite safe.
Yeah. We know there's a life staff running around, and I saw Blaze got a protect ring in the ribbon room. Between those two pieces of gear, Porum, no trouble. Dodges Meteor like a champ, and we're here in the last phase.
That is rocks. There is a dart, and there is a shake.
GG, Moonblaze Wolf. Finishing out the last race. Well done. Have an official time momentarily. Looks like there it is. 49-32.
And we are joined by Moonblaze Wolf. GG.
Hey, folks.
Well, how are you feeling going into this race? I mean, this has probably been a pretty good example of how everyone feels this round has gone for you. You were neck and neck with Pankraz, and then you took alternate paths, and one led to a much faster path to Zeromus than heading down to Dwarf, unfortunately, after Baron.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's really good. I had 6 good opponents, and I had a combination of a couple small mistakes and a lot of bad choices or bad luck or whatever you want to call it, and here we are. So, I mean, I don't know. I was pretty zen and peaceful about the whole thing. I did want to play well. That was like the only thing I would say is I wanted to put on a good race and put on a good show and make Pankraz earn it, and he absolutely did. So, GG's to him.
Yeah, you do not have an enviable schedule, having looked back over it. And you ran that, essentially as quickly as you could for the checks that you made. And you definitely, you were neck and neck the whole way through until the paths diverged. You were somebody I had it in my round of 16, and I would have been terrified to play in this round.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, I played Xenocat last night, and I lost to checking the Odin spot, and today I lost to not checking the Odin spot. So it's just one of those things. Like, it's a randomizer. It's cool. It's just how it goes sometimes. And I felt like I played great. I'm really happy with all the decisions I made. I just got really, really unlucky. So.
Oh, Leo, you have anything?
No, I mean, you did say it. I mean, you raced very well. We're straight through the group rounds, and just so many times I've watched, I think, all of your races in table, and it's just you took off early and made good choices, and it came down to you've got to go one way or another. And I've never seen you make a choice where I don't think I've heard anyone say, "Whoop, that's a bad call." It's just, as you say, rando's gonna rando.
Yeah, I mean, I was feeling really good about my routing. I loved picking up that edge when I did. The start was really rough. I'm going to be curious to see how Pankraz handled that. But I felt like I got out of that okay. When you find like a heroine robe in the random Sylph Cave chest, you always feel really good about stuff like that too. So it's hard to say. Like I felt like all of the little things I did really set me up well going into the second half of the seed, and it's just it is what it is.
Yep.
Well, you know me, I've been a fan of yours for quite some time. Anybody in chat who wants to see
Fan of yours for a long time too. I am not a bandwagon PK fan. I just want to let you know that.
well, I'm very happy hearing that. And Blaze, I know you have some other marathon runs. I think even maybe this weekend.
No, it's in 2 weeks. I'm gonna be doing a GDQ hotfix, and my other game that's like my current obsession right now, Bug Fables. I'm running in some charity marathons coming up, but there's a lot of great free enterprise coming up still. There's a really cool free enterprise Paladin percent randomized tournament going on in the RPG Valkyries marathon that I'm super excited about in a couple weeks. And there's also a little project that I'm working to kick off right now that I'm also really excited about. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool free enterprise stuff coming real soon. And my league experience is over a little earlier than I wanted, but I'm just so happy with how everybody's done. I feel like the league has been just the pinnacle of like really good play, really professional, like good sportsmanship, good commentary, good restream broadcast. Just everything we're doing is awesome right now on the when you sort of take a step back on that big picture level, and I'm just so proud of this community still.
It has been a phenomenal tournament. This is definitely an earlier exit than I would have thought from you, but I assume I can look forward to being terrified of racing you in the Zima Zone 4 and whatever is to come for this community as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited. I'm already excited for whatever the next event may be, whether it's, another Fabul Gauntlet, another World Series, or something else that we haven't, quite dreamed up yet. So really, really excited to see everything the rest of the way. Good luck to you, PK. Good luck to everybody in the round of 16.
Much appreciated. And yes, once again, GG's, and give Moonblaze Wolf a follow if you haven't already. But I believe this might wrap it for this particular race of free enterprise. We have plenty more going on. I believe we have a raid target. Leo, if you want to take us out.
Yeah, just as Moonblaze Wolf said, thank you, Alicel, for handling the restreams, Cassidy for all of the buttons with trackers, and as Alicel's reminding you, don't spoil this race as we head over to RPG Limit Break. Things will be underway there soon. You can say great race, etc., but no details. And PK, glad I got a chance to do comms with you. Looking forward to doing it again.
Yeah, likewise. And thanks again.